Good afternoon, Mr. Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I want to first off start by telling you how much I appreciate you coming today and having this session with me and allowing me to kind of help you work through some issues that you're having lately. You want to start off by telling me a little bit about the new member in your church?
Well, the new member that came to us and joined has some gender issues that we are looking at as a challenging situation for us. Was born as a male but is now presenting themselves as a female, and so it's been difficult for some of the old time religion to kind of get involved with this new generation that we have. So it's challenging to bridge the gap that we have currently, and we're just kind of at a loss for words right now.
Okay, Mr. Tyler, can you tell me a little bit about the makeup of your church as far as the demographics go and your ages of your members?
Well, our age range probably goes from roughly around, we have a youth that's kind of up and coming that goes from probably 14 or 15 that are highly involved, and then our elder statesman, if you would, is about 95, and he's our head deacon. So it's a vast range of membership. Our average size and age probably is roughly around 45 to 50.
Okay. So would it be safe to say that the members of your church are in the mid-range age, and that some of them, or most of them, probably have had some kind of dealing with people who present themselves as a different gender or sexuality, maybe out in their community or in their workplace or possibly even in their homes?
Yes, it's really, this situation is a little bit deeper than what we've seen in the past. Mm-hmm. We have actually our minister of music has some challenging situations. Now was born as a male and is still a male, but the preference as far as sexual preference, a lot of us feel may be male. So we've seen this before, but this one is a little bit different for us. And so I think that they've seen it, but this takes it to a totally different level that we haven't quite seen yet. It dives a little bit deeper into it, and somebody wanting to kind of switch their presentation, I think, is what's kind of throwing them off. But they've seen it before. It's been, gradual, and, but this one just kind of just blossomed and bloomed out of nowhere. And so it's a little bit difficult on wrapping our arms around them and welcoming them. I mean, that's how we are. We're a church that believes love conquers all. And so we want to really wrap arms and embrace each member that comes in. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I preach on a daily basis. And you have to practice what you preach, but this one is a little bit tougher.
Well, let me ask you this. I understand an interesting choice of words, blossomed and bloomed. But can you talk to me a little bit about Mr. Tyler and what your response has been? I understand you saying that in the church you try to welcome them in and put your arms around them and welcome them into the fold. But as far as you personally and your belief system goes, has this been an easy transition for you? Has it been something that you've had to work through before? Is it presenting any challenges for you?
Well, I truly feel like when I was called to this ministry and to this work, that I was called to be able to help and reach all. When Jesus walked the earth, he did not walk with those that would now today be the well-to-do. He wouldn't have walked with most of my congregation. And that's a message that I always like to preach to them. Now, I'm a transformative kind of minister, so my ministry is a little bit different, and I touch on a lot of different topics. So this coming in took me to a different place, took me to a different space, but I was able to go grab an old scripture and bring it right to them. So what the latest thing that I've been in the book of John. And so I was on John 8 and 7, and I was talking to them about he who is without sin, let him be the first to cast a stone. So that opened up a different kind of viewpoint of what we're talking about now, because there's no big or little sin. They're all sins. We all sin and fall short. And so when I brought that to them, now who is the one that can throw the stone at this lady? The lady is not really a lady in our sense, it's kind of different, but who can throw the stone? And so when I threw that out there, now that opened up a different kind of dialogue. And so now we want to talk and take it the next step, but nobody could throw the stone.
Right. And I understand you're saying, and the reason that you're here today is because even though you're preaching from John, you're speaking from John, and no one has the right to single out, if you will, or not accept or even judge what you're seeing right now. But I understand that you're coming up against some opposition from some of your members, and that's a little difficult for you because since you've been here, you've not reached this opposition. You've not felt it before. And now all of a sudden, it's there. How are you handling that?
Well, just trying to go at it little by little. I mean, it's not a huge thing that I can come in and overnight get them to accept, because they come at me and they're scholarly as well, and they talk biblical scriptures and they can throw them out with the best of them, and they say, we're supposed to be in the world but not of the world, so we're not supposed to accept the things of the world. And so it's been challenging, honestly. And they say, well, are you accepting all of these things, and how do you feel about this? And what I try to tell them is that this person is reaching out and they're needing something. And if we turn them away, then what are we as a church? This may be the one that we need to reach and we need to teach. But if we don't extend the hand and welcome them in, then we don't even have the opportunity to start the dialogue. So I think that's one of the biggest things. You're not doing anything in life if you're not facing challenges. And so this is what I've told my congregation as a whole. This is a challenge for us to be able to face now head on. And we can show the world how true love does conquer all, because that's what he said. The greatest love of all was Christ, because he gave of himself. He accepted people, brought people in, and then he was able to change them by his love. So that's our thing. We're looking at bringing them in, and we want to be able to bring them in and open up the conversation and talk about some things, because the change didn't happen overnight. There was a situation or something that happened to them when they were younger. And so that's what we're really trying to tap into. What happened to maybe make you feel this way? And is there something that you're missing, something that you're lacking? Because we're all in seek of love. We all want love. And so if we're not accepted, and if we're cast out, then what are we as a church? So that's a conversation that I've had. And some of the old tried and true, the man and wife, they've been married for 50 years. It's difficult for them, This is a hot button topic, just like women that come in some short shirts or, revealing, So this is really a hot button topic, and it's difficult. But I truly believe that love does conquer all. And so I've really been trying to just chip away at it day by day and embrace them, bring them into the church and say, okay, look, I don't just want you to come one time and be just this, I want you to come constantly. And if you can come constantly and share your views, share your viewpoint, because we can learn from anyone. He spoke through a rock. He spoke through a burning bush. So we can learn from anyone. So there may be that hidden thing that this person has that they can bring to the table to help us as a congregation.
Sounds like you have everything in order to address your congregation. And I know that you told me that you've actually worked through some issues yourself from some of your family members who are in opposition to people who are of a different gender or present themselves as a different sexuality or preference even, and one person in particular would be your father. So you're having a little difficulty, that you told me, synthesizing what you're teaching in the church and what carry over into your family with your father, and then also you have a son whom you want to steer in the right direction as far as loving his neighbor and accepting, but you also kind of want to instill in him the principles of the Bible initially. So can you expand on that just a little bit?
Well, I think it's just like once you live in a certain manner, and that practice what you preach just rings totally true in everything that you do. Because if you're not real in one aspect and you're putting on a fake front facade and you're just wanting to be accepted, then your life eventually will show. So you have to live your life in a manner that's constantly about the principles. And the principles, as long as the principles are in charge and behind what you do, everything else will fall into place. As soon as you step outside of the scope of those principles, those commandments that are built, then you begin to get into murky waters. And so everyone knows that I'm a principled person. I put my principles over my feelings, because once I deal in principles, everything tends to fall into place. This new situation we're facing right now, if I can be a man of principles and character and show people how to make it through this, then when another difficult challenge comes up, guess who they come to? So I'm more about being the solution-oriented person than the problem person. And when I can deal in solutions, then when people have difficult times, they know, hey, this is the person I need to come to. So they know that I'm always about my principles. And when I deal in those, they know how to handle me, how to take me. They know I'm not going to sugarcoat much. You know, I call a spade, and so this is a spade. But how do we deal with the hand that we're dealt is the new challenge. It's not that I can just throw these cards back in and say, hey, I don't want this. No, I have to accept what I'm given, what I'm dealt, and this person is a person, a lost sheep that's coming into my flock now that I am responsible for. And so when I get to the gates, I want to hear him say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. And so I have to treat my brother, my citizen, whoever it is, my fellow man, with respect. The same respect that I would want. And once I do that, as long as they don't cross me, as long as they don't make the approach at me, and you know, those are some of the things we're talking about. When you come into the church, we're not here to, you know, we have a couples night, or we have a singles ministry. But when we do those things, if we do them in decency and in order, and we don't make approaches at people until it's, you know, presented in the right manner, then I think that everybody can be respected in that light. So just treating people with respect, the way that you want to be treated, is something that, you know, I like to tell my dad and my son at all times. And if I can be that fulcrum in the middle of the seesaw and help people to balance life out, then I think I've done my job.
So it sounds to me like you've come full circle, because being raised one way with your dad, and I believe you told me your grandfather too, had some strong feelings about those people who were tended to be a little bit different than yourself or them. And that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear you saying if you have functions in the church and you have different things, doesn't matter who this person here is presenting to be, as long as they continue to stay within the confines of the rules and regulations, they're at your
it's a sanctified system.
Right.
If I have a system in place where 1, 2, 3, 4, and they know the order, decency and order. It didn't just say decent, because everybody, you know, what's the definition of decent? But decency and order, you have to finish that thing out. And when we finish that out and we have a sanctified system, everything tends to fall into place. Everybody knows their place. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody's called according to his will. So if we understand that everything works together for the good, then we're better. But now, I mean, we have this hot topic and this hot button issue of hashtag Black Lives Matter. And so that's another talking point that I can bring in here too. I'm blessed with the gift of gab, so I can show people and paint a portrait that's, you know, clear as day. But how can we say that Black Lives Matter, but then we turn this person away? Because you see, the racism and prejudice, it doesn't just go on color. There's creed, there's different backgrounds. So when I can get them into those topics and talk to them about that, and you know, going down the lineage of the slaves and, you know, the different things, the Jim Crow laws that I've had my uncles and, you know, grandfather, everybody, my dad talked to me about, the black and white issue is real. But when we feel a certain way about how they treat us as a race, but then we treat somebody that's different from us as well, then we're giving that same prejudice out. So you have to always look in that mirror. And when you look in that mirror, if you deal in principles and you have that sanctified system that we've implemented, I think that everything tends to fall into place, and people treat you with respect. You know, people don't tend to treat me sideways. When I walk the streets and I do my street ministry, people don't come up to me trying to shoot me or kill me or sell me drugs. They understand because I handle myself in a certain way. And so a person of a different gender or different, you know, sexual preference, they don't approach me that way. They approach me for the healing that everyone needs. And everybody that comes to me, I'm a hope dealer. You know, not a drug dealer, but a hope dealer. Because everybody that comes to me, they need that hope. They need that ray of sunshine. I am the salt and the light, you know, for this ever-decaying world. So I have to shine that light. And when I shine that light, hopefully I can find something. I can push a button that maybe changes something. So that's my thing. A change agent like none other.
Sounds like you have another topic for a sermon here when you're saying no condemnation, correct? And then you can bring in the Black Lives Matter, and that we're all, you know, fighting some battle.
Exactly.
Different in some way, but acceptance is the key for it all. No condemnation. Does that sound
Oh, yes.
pretty fair? All right. Well, I really appreciate you for coming today, and I'm so happy to hear that you've kind of gotten to a place where you don't have to take on the old feelings of your family, and that you're in a new place where you can accept everyone and love everyone, and you can spread that word abroad. So it sounds like you've grown as a man and a pastor.
Yes.
And we need more people like you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. All right.